Hello and welcome back to part 2, pool maintenance. In my first video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. I explained how to set up a 21-foot above ground pool. I showed the equipment in there and how to get started. In this video, we're going to talk about water chemistry, keeping the water clean, and then winterizing the pool. I'll go over all of these products here as we go through it. Now, when I set up the pool the first time and got the water in it, I ended up taking a sample to my local pool store because I didn't know how much of the chemicals that I really needed. I was new to it, so what they did is they printed out a sheet like this. They gave me all the chemistry parts and information of what I needed. They gave me the chemicals too. Now afterwards, after I got comfortable with it, I ended up buying some test strips. This is a saltwater, for saltwater. These are the test strips. One's for testing the salinity of the water and the salt, and the other one is, this one here has total hardness, total chlorine, free chlorine, pH, total alkalinity, and stabilizer. Now these are great for, just quickly checking to see how things are. The one thing that I went out and I purchased is a tailored test kit. It comes with, and this one's specifically again for saltwater, it comes with all the chemicals that I needed to test the water, and it tests out exactly what's in these test strips. Your total hardness, chlorine, free chlorine, and pH, and so on and so forth. There's more to this kit. Now, it's a little bit overwhelming when you first use it. You need to read the directions because some of the chemicals that you're using to test out with, you're not going to know right away. But it does come with a nice sample of how to use the chemicals. So a quick guide here, and it comes with directions, in-depth directions as well. Nice kit, recommend it. More accurate than the test strips. Now, some of the chemicals that I've used are seen here. I've had to use shock, so you'll need that to start out with. A couple bad things that I've done is using too much of any one chemical. Now, for instance, I thought I had a problem with algae. I put algicide in it. I ended up putting too much in it. It was my mistake. It was wrong calculation. The water ended up getting cloudy. I thought, okay, well, now that it's cloudy, it's time to put in some clarifier. It did mess up the chemistry a little bit until I, figured things out and let things settle down. So, be really cautious. Don't feel that you have to go out and just fix something with a chemical. For instance, I went out and I had purchased some pH up. Now, there is a natural way to raise your pH by aerating the water, and so I didn't really need this in the end. So it's a lot of learning if you really want to get into the chemistry of the water and how to solve your own issues. It takes a little bit of learning to understanding all the chemicals and getting the water right. So just be cautious, when you're testing the water and maybe the chemistry is out of balance. Just don't try to go out and throw something in the pool and then it can screw up other things and make kind of a mess. What the clarifier did for me though is it clogged the filter that I had. So I ended up having to clean the filter multiple times in order for the filter to run correctly. When it's clogged, you don't get enough pressure going through the saltwater generator, and then the saltwater generator ends up stopping. So, there's, things that you really need to watch out for. One thing that I picked up was a nice brush. I don't use this too much, only to, maybe scrape some stuff off the bottom. My sides of my pool have all been nice and clean, but it's always nice to have a brush. Of course, the most popular one is a leaf net. I use this all the time. Next one, of course, is a pole. They do come in different varieties and sizes. This one, I don't know what it goes out to. probably 12 feet or so at least. But it's nice to have a really nice one, doesn't bend as much. So, make sure that you get a nice one that won't cause you problems. These are two items here that I don't use a lot, and I'll explain a little bit. You can see them. This is for the vacuum. It's a scrubber, and it's a vacuum all-in-one. And I've used it maybe like 3 or 4 times in the beginning, but I'll show you a product here that really replaces this and the hose. These two are, kind of a maintenance issue. You have to dip the hose in the pool to get it started. Then you're pumping all of the debris into your filter, and then you have to clean the filter. So it was a little nuisance, I would say. Now the other couple items here that I would recommend is some type of lubrication for your seals. You want to make sure that if you have rubber gaskets with your pool equipment, is to make sure that you use some lubrication on those. The leaf basket for the pump, this is great on that. So make sure that you kind of, purchase, it's like $10, $5 or $10, something like that. And then you may hear about leaf socks. Leaf socks are really good at filtering out debris in your skimmer. Now, in the springtime, I would say these are almost a must unless you want to clean your filter continuously. This year we had a lot of maple seeds, we had a lot of cottonwood, and I'd have to go out and clean just the sock instead of the filter itself. So, you rinse out the sock or you put on a new sock, and what it does is it stretches out over the skimmer basket, just kind of like that, and that stops all of that debris from going into your filter. Now, I bought 2 kinds. This one is, more like a nylon, and this is a hairnet. I prefer the hairnets a little bit more. They allow more of the water to go through. They're not as tightly knitted compared to, this nylon type one. If you do have a lot of debris, this one gets clogged a lot sooner, so there's a lot of maintenance there. Now, for the next item, slide some of this down. This next item really replaces this equipment here. This is what I picked up. Oops. This is what I picked up to really help with cleaning of the pool. All the debris sits down there. This is a battery-powered pool cleaner. I picked it up at Amazon. I would say this is worth the money if you have a pool. There's all kinds of them out there. There's all kinds of robots. Some are, wired. Some are wireless. This one has a battery inside of it. I'm charging it right now. But this is really easy to open up. And this is where the dirt and the debris is contained. And it has like a mesh filter. And all of that debris sits in here when you pull it out of the pool. This runs for about an hour and a half. Puts all that debris in here, and then you have to, of course, pull it out of the pool. I have a floating, it comes with like a floating ring, and so you just pull it out. There's 2 things about this that, one, I think would be nice to have is a speed setting on this one. This one goes, I don't want to say super fast, but this one goes pretty quick. It'd be nice to have a setting where you could slow it down. It doesn't have that setting, but does a fantastic job, and I recommend it. The other thing that may be an issue for some people is if you have an above ground pool, so let's say it's the height of the wall is 54 inches. getting over the top of that and pulling this out, there's a lot of water weight in here in order to get this out of the pool. So that may be a concern to some. I don't find it a concern for me, but my daughter really isn't able, she's a little bit smaller than I am, she's not really able to pull that out of the pool. But again, really recommend this unit if you want to get away from having to utilize this. Now, the other thing that I think is great about this unit, particularly this company, is they have been phenomenal. So it comes with a 2-year warranty. I've had an issue with it twice. It didn't stop working, it just had a missing fin here. It's a silicone fin. And the other one was it wasn't cleaning totally from one side of the pool to the other. Again, it didn't stop. The company I emailed, I sent them an email. I ended up getting a response back from them within a day. And I think within 2 days they sent me out the part. Very easy to install. It's a very simple design. It comes with the battery up at the top, and then its drive shaft here. A couple screws. I was able to replace the parts. Overall, very good product. They range from anywhere between $300 to $150. But I feel this is really worth the money. If you have any type of pool, in ground, above ground, it's a lot better than using this. All right, set this aside. The next bit here, let's see if we can get it around here, is winterizing. So, as I mentioned, I'm coming up to the point right now. It's September, mid-September here in mid-Michigan. It's a good time to start closing down pools. The water temperature gets below about 65 degrees, and my saltwater generator won't generate anymore. And once it's down below 65 is when you should start thinking about closing the pool. Now, I went out and I bought this winterizing kit. Very simple. They give you instructions on how to use it, the chemicals that you need to place in and get the winterizing process up and running. And it'd probably take no more than a day to really get the chemicals in, circulate, and then you can start covering up the pool. This one comes with winterizer, which is kind of like an algicide. It's stain away. It comes with a shock, a sponge to soak up any oils, and then this will stay in the pool over the winter, and it has chemicals in here too, so it will help maintain the water. Now, for the pool cover, this is what I've chosen. This is a 21-foot pool cover. I bought the clips that go around the side. They're just plastic clips to help hold that pool cover into place on the top rail of the pool. It comes with a clamping system. So when you get the pool cover all out, you have a wire all the way around the pool, and then you can clamp that down. And then you're pretty much ready to close the pool up. I did purchase some saran wrap or winter wrap to go all around the top of the pool to secure that, and I'll show a picture here of that when I get that completed. Now, one thing that I haven't talked about before putting the pool cover on is for you to have a float in the pool. Now, I have seen they're blue floats. And what they do is they elevate this cover off the water so that when it freezes, the ice has a place to push on it. And what I've learned is those pool floats fail a lot. So I'm going to experiment with kind of a rubber tire like this, along with an exercise ball, giving me a little bit more height to that. And so I'm gonna see if that works. I don't wanna say I recommend that quite yet, but people have used these instead of those blue floats. What I've heard is the blue floats leak, they're thin, and so for about the same money, I purchased both of these in order to replace that. But again, kind of an experiment on my side. We'll see how it goes over the winter. I figured if one deflates, like this exercise ball deflates, then I'll still kind of have a backup tube. If all of this works correctly, I have an idea of how I want to do next year's setup going forward. So one last thing that I didn't say is on this pool cover, go with the max amount that you can afford. One thing to look for in pool covers and quality is what is called the scrim. It's the knitting of the fibers within this pool cover. The tighter the knit, the better that the pool cover is going to be, and it will be more durable. This is 14 by 14 scrim. And so if you want to look at quality, you can start looking at, the scrim range and getting a pool. You'll notice that, if a lesser quality pool cover could be in the neighborhood of 9 by 9 scrim or 10 by 10 scrim. This, I'm not sure if this is the top, but this is a premium pool cover, and I've checked out different brands, and the 14 by 14 is right up there as being a quality pool cover. So with that said, hopefully I'll be able to survive the winter with it, and it has a 25-year warranty, so hopefully I can go multiple years without having to replace it. All right, with that said, I've got some more in the videos. I'll show you the outside equipment here and some more maintenance with the solar cover, and also with the pump and the filter and the saltwater generator. So this is my pool equipment shed, and from the first video it was brown and now it's painted blue. I'll quickly go over the equipment. Of course, this is the pump. You can hear a squeak. There seems to be a bearing issue, and I have a replacement coming. That's the pre-filter, the cartridge filter, and then I installed a flow meter. With a flow meter, it helps me determine the ability of turning over the water at least once per day, and that's kind of a standard. Some people have said that you don't necessarily need it to be exactly 1 per day or 2 per day, as long as the water is clear. But right now it's about 1 turnover per day for this pool. There is the chlorinator, and there's a chlorination unit. Now, what I have set up, I have set up a timer for about 7 hours at 1800 RPM in the morning till the afternoon, and then another timer at night in which I run it 3 hours at 2100 RPMs. Now, after a shock, a pool shock, usually what I found I can set this to is 25%, and I run it approximately 3 hours in the morning and then about an hour and a half at night. And so that seems to keep the chlorination right around 3 parts per million, which is what is required. Other than that, that pretty much wraps up the pool equipment. As you can tell, it's all hard plastic pipe in here. We go out to the outside, have my shutoffs as you've seen in the other video, and then I'll show you what I added around back. So back here, what I ended up doing was putting in an overflow. I ended up having to drill a hole in the side, putting in a bulkhead, sealing it, and then what I can do is just by adding a 90 in here, I can set the height, whether I want it there, whether I want it there, and that allows it to drain at a certain height if it gets too full. So that, you know, I don't have to come out here all the time and drain it. You know, my water level will be at the right height, and that works out pretty well. And I just have it going to the back of my shed, which ties into an output or a drain off the pump and the filter over all the way to that corner spot. So that really helps me keep that water level the way that I want it to. This summer there has been a lot of rain, and I haven't had to fill the pool too much from a garden hose. Usually the rain's been keeping it at level, and it works pretty well. Just one thing to note here is where I tied in my solar cover support right into the shed, and overall it's kept with all these settings, it's kept my pool water crystal clear. So I'm real happy with the setup. It's worked out very well. Wrapping up the closure of the pool, you can see that I've got the cover on. I have my inner tube and also the ball into place. And then you can see that I put on the wrap. I do have a ratchet strap. Instead of having one of these cables that I thought was kind of cheap, I ended up buying a ratchet strap off of Amazon, and so that works a lot better. Kind of the other things that I've done so far is put some wrapping around the valves. We ended up putting some stone in the fall, and then just kind of closing things out in my shed here. So those are one more thing. Also got a cover for the solar cover for the winter. Made some hooks on the fence back there so that that can sit up off the ground. Water was lowered down below the skimmer and inlet, and so I did that. And it's about mid-November, and just trying to keep the leaves and stuff off of the cover. There's quite a leaves that have fallen over the past month, and just want to make sure that you keep those off the cover. But other than that, we've had some pretty good windstorms, and it seems to be going pretty good. So when we open it up next year, we'll see. To wrap up this video, I wanted to just say, if you have any issues with water quality or pool equipment, or you have questions on what equipment to purchase, I really recommend troublefreepool.com. I've learned a lot from that website, and I think you can too, and there's really some good professionals out there giving you really good quality information. Now with that said, if you like this video, go ahead and give us a like. Also, better yet, subscribe, and you'll get the